Good evening and welcome to Gunner Shot. Today we're going to have a very interesting webinar on the new beginning for J&K, which is brought to you as a collaboration between Clause, CASA, and Gunner Shot. Uh, Before I say anything, I'd first like to welcome all those who are taking part in the webinar. Here they are. You see General Atta Hasnain, he needs no introduction. General Gautam Murthy, again, needs no introduction. Mr. Javed Beg, who's come after a very successful round of elections in Kashmir. His smile says it all. And Mr. Kuldeep Koda, who's been a stalwart police officer, in getting Kashmir to where it is. Good evening to all of you, gentlemen, and welcome to this webinar on a new beginning for Kashmir. Right. With this, what I'd like to say is to everyone that we've just had elections over. For the first time after a long time, we have an elected government in Kashmir, in the Union Territory of Kashmir. But having said that, there are a lot of issues still. The great part is peaceful elections, successful elections. It sends a lot of messages all around. International observers came and saw it. People participated in a great manner. People have chosen the leaders whom they want. Will the leaders be able to deliver? Will the national leadership be able to deliver? Is there a new hope for Kashmir? All these things are in the cauldron. And we're going to see from here as to where this whole story is going. And for this, we have our, four panelists. We'll start. What we'll do is, I'd request each of you as we go over, about 10 to 12 minutes, you could give your talk. And then we'll see if we can have time. We go for a second round, or we'll take questions and we'll go for it. I'll first start with General Gautam Murthy, follow it up with Mr. Kuldeep Koda, then Mr. Javed Beg, and then we'll wrap it up with General Atta Hasnain. With this, General Gautam Murthy, sir, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, General Shankar. Good evening to all my fellow panelists and to your audience. What a lovely subject, a new beginning for J&K. I had seen a tweet which was a little cynical, which said, why J&K has had many new beginnings. But let me tell you, it is not the case. 8th October 2024 will go down in history as yet another important day in Jammu and Kashmir's checkered past, because this day marked the declaration of the results of one of the most peaceful elections ever held in the territory, and the first after the virtual abrogation of Articles 370 and 35A of the Constitution of India. The results, to my mind, are not as important as the fact that the elections were held with no party calling for a boycott, and with a polling percentage around 63%. Delimitation, a major exercise in itself, had taken place earlier. Although the regions of Jammu and that of Kashmir have voted differently as was expected, the high levels of animosity of the past are likely to be tempered as the people of the Union Territory, and hopefully a state soon, realize that it is in their interest to pull along together. I think the Election Commission did an outstanding job under very difficult circumstances. The Chief Election Commissioner, Mr. Rajiv Kumar, stated that the peaceful conclusion of the electoral process in Jammu and Kashmir represents a victory for the democratic spirit and showcases the resilience of the region's people. He said, and I quote, "The gesture of embracing democracy strengthens its foundation, and it is now over to them to chart a democratic journey to even greater heights." I think he has captured the essence of what this election was and what we can hope for in the future. What about the National Conference Vice President, Mr. Omar Abdullah? He said that the government will be formed in Jammu and Kashmir, and it has a big responsibility of inculcating a sense of belonging. Also, the government has a bigger responsibility of ensuring that the people of Jammu do not feel that this is not their government. He made it clear, and this is very important, that Kashmiris will not benefit from an antagonistic relationship with the BJP led central government. The burdens of expectations on Omar Abdullah is very high indeed. He understands that, and what we can glean from his statements is that he has put the abrogation behind him and henceforth will be working for the people as a head of a union territory now, and I say again, soon to be state, which is fully integrated with the Union of India. This is a huge takeaway from the elections. And of course, I will just say a few more words because I have such eminent panelists as General Atta Hasnain and Mr. Kuldeep Khoda, the former DGP, General Hasnain, the former Corps Commander, and both of them have the finger on the pulse. And Mr. Javed Beg, indigenous Kashmiri, is here who's spreading the message all across the world about what Jammu and Kashmir is, and what a Naya Kashmir is all about. So we are looking at some areas. I will just mention political stability from what the statements that have come emanated both from the Prime Minister and from the likely Chief Minister of J&K. This stability is crucial for peace and development in the region. The democratic and demographic representation. Central government came into a lot of criticism, both in the domestic realm and the international realm, for not holding the elections earlier. In fact, viewers will recall that the Supreme Court had ruled that they be held before 30th of September. Thus, holding the elections has fulfilled not only the aspirations of the people, but has quietened those who were feeling that this election is not going to be held and this is just a jumla and everything else. The next aspiration, which is the restoration of statehood, should logically follow. Now, the impact on national politics. You see, we have had election results both from Haryana and J&K. Now, the outcome of these elections has a huge influence on national politics. The fact that Mr. Abdullah's party is an important constituent of the India alliance will continue to strengthen the alliance and the polity as such. And this augurs very well for democracy in India. And all the naysayers who've been saying that, there is no democracy and democracy has vanished, I think these elections have put paid to such people's ideas and their utterances. Security and militancy, I will leave it to General Hasnain and Mr. Kuldeep Khoda to speak on it, but I'll simply say that the conduct of peaceful elections is a positive indicator for security. However, I will add a word of caution that if governance is weak, it could lead to increased tensions and violence, and it could exacerbate the existing security challenges. Economic development, Mr. Javed Beg will tell you what is happening on ground, and it is understood that this path will continue. A bipartisan approach that Mr. Omar Abdullah has promised will need to be followed. On international relations, the successful holding of these peaceful elections is certainly a feather in the cap for India. All nations, especially Pakistan, and within Pakistan, the residents of UK would surely be taking note of this. In conclusion, all I'd say that a new beginning has definitely been made. It is now up to the leaders at the state and the center to put aside the differences and work towards the common goals of the welfare of the people of J&K and good governance. Thank you. Over to you, General Shankar.
Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks a lot for your remarks. The important takeaways from what you said is results are not important, right? Participation is more important, and that's what I thought was the cornerstone of these elections. Well, you did make a mention that the burden of expectations from the new government is very high for the people and the rest of people of Kashmir and the rest of India also. But equally, the burden of responsibility is equally high on the central government to make this entire experiment a success. They have a 50% or more hand in it. I think they have 60 to 70% hand to guide the state or the union territory to a statehood and on to safe shores. Well, you have a positive approach. That's good. A whole lot of issues: security, statehood, Pakistan, international relations, governance, development, X, Y, Z. And I will leave it to you people on the panel, the knowledgeable panel, to throw up those facets which you think are most important for a new beginning in Kashmir. With this, I request Mr. Kuldeep Koda, all yours, sir.
Thank you, General Shankar. General Murthy has already brought out the essential part of the democratic process which has taken place and the government which has come up, which is likely to be sworn in shortly now. And the exercise which was carried out in a very clinical manner, a smooth manner, without violence, as General Murthy has already mentioned. And the participation this time was voluntary, on a huge scale, no boycott calls, no violence, and enthusiastic participation by the common man in these elections. And the results, of course, which have come up have also shown a clear trend, a clear verdict, and we can hope a very stable government, which is essential for the future development of the state on all fronts. Now, this is really a new beginning in many ways. First of all, it is a government now, a political government, a representative government after the abrogation of Article 370 and 35A. Now, the likely chief ministerial incumbent, he has started on a very positive note that this issue has been decided by the apex court, and he is not likely to make it a focal point, as some of the pessimists expected, that it is going to be a central issue in future, and which can vitiate the atmosphere of working between the UT government and the central government. Now, the chief minister, the likely chief minister, who is likely to come up now, he has very wisely and very well stated that this issue is to be put on back burner, and he's going to focus on people's problems, the development, and the issues which concern the common man. And going by, I will not further develop on the points which has been very well brought out by General Murthy, but I would like to take up the other issues which are likely to be a focus in near future. The first issue, which is likely to be on which people of Jammu and Kashmir will have a lot of expectation on the government, are the developmental issues, the public grievances, and many of the announcements which the UT government had earlier made, which need a serious follow-up in the interest of welfare of the people. On the development issues, there were lots of announcements in the past, like investments in the industrial sector, in the tourism sector, in the health sector, and the smart cities, which are for Jammu and Srinagar. There has been not much pickup on those issues, and with the government, with the political government, a representative government in place, I think the people are going to pursue these issues through their representatives, which can result in an accelerated action on these fronts. I may point out, like, one issue, like in health sector, and a policy was announced in 2019, the healthcare investment policy, and in which incentives were given by the government for setting up private healthcare facilities in Jammu and Kashmir, because the super specialty and multi-specialty care is really lacking on ground level in the entire union territory. And in response to a very good policy, which gave lots of incentives to those who want to come and set up the healthcare facilities in Jammu and Kashmir, the big players like Fortis, Medanta, Par Group of Hospitals, Capital Group of Hospitals, they are very, and some more renowned chain of hospitals applied for it. And since last 5 years, they have not been able to get any land here. And the result is that the 3,325 crores of rupees, which were given for this sector for development, allotment of land, and for development of these facilities in the form of incentives for those who set up these facilities, this has remained more or less unutilized. Now, the people of Jammu and Kashmir, expect that some forward movement will take place on these issues, and in the previous previous years, as is usually expected, that in absence of a political government, many of the issues which get routed through bureaucracy, they don't get attended. Now, people's grievances is one of those issues where they found that there was no bridge existing between the people and the government, which is the government authorities which are responsible for executing various projects for development, for welfare, for healthcare, for education, and many other policies which were announced by the government, which need to be implemented on ground. Now, through the public representatives, where the people will have easy access, I'm sure that these issues are going to be pursued on day-to-day basis, which will give a big relief in the ease of living of the people of the entire UT. So this is a very, very positive development, and people have huge expectations from this new government on this issue. On the issue of the internal security, now this continues to remain with the center, and this in a way is again a very positive thing. I think this is a win-win situation in which we are right now. Previously, prior to it, the local police was under the state government, and later on under the UP government, and after the and now after this restoration of the political government, the police is now going to continue to remain with the Union Home Ministry. And this will give a centralized push in the day-to-day activities, day-to-day operations of the security forces in maintenance of internal security. The security forces have worked a lot during past years, which has enabled a sort of complete peace in Kashmir Valley. And when Pakistan felt frustrated, they tried to activate Jammu region, in which also they have failed, mainly because of the sacrifices made by the security force on the ground. And all of you know it, and the people of Jammu and Kashmir know it very well as to how the peace has been established. Now we have to carry it forward and ensure that Pakistan, who is not going to give up its activities as far as J&K is concerned, that will be dealt very well with a centralized command, both for the paramilitary force, police, and of course the army, which is under the Ministry of Defense. So with this sort of working, I'm sure that the new government which will be in place, they will be not very much concerned about that, because this is in a safe hands. The security of state will be safe hands, and it will continue to operate in a manner which will be beneficial in the overall interest of the peace, security, and integrity of the country. So with these points, I would like to conclude my observations. But I must say that the new dispensation which is going to come up is going to represent Jammu and Kashmir on the political front very well, because there was apprehension that there may be some sort of lopsidedness, because the MLAs which have been elected may belong to one community, but there is enough of them, and many of the independents are also now lining up, who are going to be part of the new political government. So I think that point will also be taken care of well, so that the ministry which is constituted represents the people of Jammu region in a proportionate manner, and of Kashmir, of course, where from most of the MLAs who have come, who are going to the party which is going to rule. So I think that will be taken care of. And with Omar Abdullah, who is likely to be the chief minister, he has started on a very, very positive note. This is a good omen for the state, and I'm sure he has already mentioned that it is in the interest of J&K people, and it is in the interest of union government also, that the two they work without any friction, and they work smoothly, which is again a very good development, which is a very good indication for future time to come. So with these comments, I'll like to conclude. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, sir. I think you have made certain important points um, that there were no boycott calls for this election, and there was all-round participation. Even the ex-militants also participated in the whole thing. We saw Engineer Rashid participating. And if I might say, there was a shift from the electoral process of the Lok Sabha to now. The people's mood also seems to have changed because the kind of voting which has been done gives you certain indications. And important thing that the new dispensation seems to be ready to move beyond Article 370 and reinstating it and all that. When he says this is not going to be the focal point of the whole story, right? And the focus has to be the people's problems, which you rightly said. People are going to look at development issues, and the expectations are going to be very clear. You know, lot has been promised to Kashmir. Has it been delivered? What are the deliverables to Kashmir is what is going to be seen. And it is in this that the center-state relations are going to come in, and we need to talk about it also as we go along. Right. Because it's one thing to say immediately after the elections, look, everything is going to be hunky-dory, we have to work, but there are internal contradictions, as we all know, and the realities of the whole story. And all these promises, like what you said, smart cities, investment, and all that is very important. And most important, I think, is investment into societal issues, health, and things like that, which affects the people. I think is a very important point you made. And of course, Pakistan will always be there to clear the pitch, and we'll talk of it in the next round. With this, I'd request Mr. Javed Beg, please tell me what's the movement in the valley and how are things. And I wouldn't say the valley alone, entire Kashmir. Your take, please carry on.
Thank you so much, sir, for inviting me on your beautiful platform with these great intellectuals of our country. I might sound very low on energy because I was not keeping well for a couple of days. Well, I'm very happy. Uh, for the first time, I have seen in my life an election being celebrated like a festival in Jammu and Kashmir, especially in the valley. Uh, I am witness where I have seen hartal calls coming, boycott calls coming, posters, outside my home, in the mohallas, on the walls of masjids, and that fear across, mohallas, towns. But this time it was totally different. Everybody could freely participate. For everybody could freely go and vote. Everybody, parties, candidates, their supporters, voters, they could freely campaign. Even during nights in my hometown Birwa, which was once one of the most uh, difficult areas to manage. I saw my family, my relatives taking and participating in late night campaigns. So I'm very happy as a Kashmiri. I would say this is the real democracy we have seen for the first time uh, in Kashmir Valley. No matter who wins, which party came with the maximum numbers, who is going to form government. But this is indeed the win of democracy. This is indeed the success of idea of India, which was actually missing in the valley for last 3 decades. Now I think this credit must go to the people of Jammu and Kashmir, to the youth of Kashmir Valley, and to the vision of Honorable PM Saab. I remember in 2019 when Honorable PM delivered a very powerful speech inside Parliament, and he said, "I can see peace returning to Jammu and Kashmir after the abrogation." A lot of people had disagreements with Honorable PM. We may have disagreements with the political party he belongs to, but he is indeed uh, representing idea of India, not only in our country but globally. So I admire the vision he carries, not only for Jammu and Kashmir but for the entire country. I congratulate people of Jammu and Kashmir. I see this as new dawn over Kashmir. The way people participated, including a political or religious outfit, Jamaat Islami also participating. Their candidates also participated, though they couldn't win a seat. But yes, their participation should be welcomed. Everybody has also change in the mindset of people of the Jammu and Kashmir. So people have understood idea of India. People have understood true essence of the idea of India. People have understood the value and importance of democracy, democratic processes like elections. And I'm very happy that a civilian government will come because, we have regional parties who always come up with complaints against you, complaints against me, against everybody and anybody. Now, people have chosen them. They have every right to form government. I'm very happy uh, that Jammu and Kashmir has participated even, in comparison with other states like Maharashtra, Bihar. The vote percentage in Jammu and Kashmir is much higher. Two divisions of Jammu and Kashmir. Division Jammu has given clear mandate to BJP. Kashmir division has given a good mandate to National Conference. And as you rightly said, the way Mr. Omar Abdullah has started showing a very positive attitude, I wholeheartedly welcome his statement. He is willing to work with the opposition parties. He's willing to work with the party in central government. This is how we can actually achieve the bigger goal. The bigger goal is holistic development of Jammu and Kashmir. We are far behind in comparison with other neighboring states like Punjab, Haryana, because we missed on development. We had maximum tourist footfall last year and this year, and we don't have enough infrastructure to accommodate our esteemed tourists. Right now, when we are speaking here, we in Kashmir Valley are hosting Legends Cricket League. Tomorrow I'm hopeful and very happy because in my childhood we missed these festivals also. We are hopeful of hosting IPL maybe this year or next year. We people of Jammu and Kashmir, we are eagerly waiting for some World Cup matches to be hosted there. See, people of Kashmir have chosen the right path, which is idea of India, which is idea of humanity, which is Kashmirian. So this is the verdict people of Kashmir have given against terrorism, against extremism, against radicalism. I have been advocating for this idea for last 1.5 decade. I'm very happy Omar Abdullah has spoken what I have been speaking for last more than a decade. So happy. He made my day. And everybody will, trust me, mark my words, everybody in Jammu and Kashmir, especially in the valley, will love idea of India. There is no better idea than idea of India. The only solution to every problem there, be it a lack of infrastructure, be it lack of other things in the valley, the only solution is peace. And peace has ultimately returned. There are people, there are four of the legends sitting with me who have contributed to this day. General Ata Hasnain Saab, salute to you. Lieutenant General Gautam Murthy Sahab, salute to you. Lieutenant General Shankar Sahab and my friend Kuldeep Khoda Sahab, salute to you guys. Salute to the people of Jammu and Kashmir, to the youth of my Jammu and Kashmir who have shown to the world, to our enemy, that they are the real guardians of idea of India. They are the real guardians of world's largest democracy. And that is where we are. More than 60% votes. Not a single incident of violence. Not a single incident of stone pelting or that fear factor. Free and fair elections. This is Naya Kashmir. Indeed, this is Naya Kashmir, where there is peace, prosperity, communal harmony, and development. यही तो हम सब चाहते थे.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir.
Oh, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Javed. That was very, very emotional and straight from the heart. I mean, for everyone who's seeing, actually, I don't have to sum up what he spoke. His feelings were very clear as to where Kashmir is going. The happiness of being part of the idea of India in line or on the same level as rest of the states of India. And that's, I think, a very important message he brought about. Then he brought about a thing which we will get back to him a little later. He spoke of youth. And he's not spoken enough of the youth factor. We'll get back to him on this issue, right? And then he spoke of tourists, the lack of infrastructure there, and the great hope that IPL will come, and and the fact that terrorism, radicalism, etc., have all been defeated. I think he represents a large amount of expectation of the people of Jammu and Kashmir, and the happiness which is put across to all of us is great to hear and great to feel, but equally it places a huge responsibility on everyone to respond to that happiness. Tomorrow, it should not go back into despair like it was once, some time back. And we'll talk about it. Because unless we see the pitfalls which are coming ahead, we will really not be able to sustain this happiness. Sustainment of this happiness and hope is, I think, a great issue. With this, I request General Atta Hasnain, sir, your take, because you had long innings in Kashmir and you've seen Kashmir through the worst of times. And I think you need to talk of it in the best of times.
Thank you, Jan Shankar. Jai Hind to everyone. Compliments, congratulations to the people of Jammu and Kashmir. Compliments, congratulations to the people of India. All of us. Javed has summed it up extremely well with the right passion, the right emotions. I may start by also saying that it's wonderful to have Kuldeep Khoda Sahab here, because there are not many people who are as experienced as he is in the handling of Jammu and Kashmir. I've had the occasion to work with him very closely, both as GOC 19 Dev and subsequently as GOC 15 Code. And I can tell you it was always a wonderful thing working with him, with all the cooperation that one got in those days in that end. And thank you once again, Kuldeep Sahab. We continue to remain very, very grateful for all that you did for us. Having said that, let me start on a somber note. While we are elative, while we are celebrating, remember there has been an incident today in Anantnag, in Kokarnag. After 3 years, you have found a revisiting of a kidnapping again coming of a territorial army Jawan. Is this a symbolic message from the terrorists to us all, from Pakistan or from anywhere? We leave it at that. But I just wanted to remind you that we cannot just ignore that. Having said it, the future Chief Minister, Mr. Omar Abdullah, is definitely very experienced. Mr. Khoda has worked with him very long, and he will be able to tell us more about it. I have only 2-3 points of advice to him right at the beginning. Number one, start small. don't start attempting too much, because you have come out from the wild. You are angry. I'm sure he is angry, although he is not exuding that anger at the moment, but he is angry because he was imprisoned for some time, and all kinds of things happened in the last 5 years. So he is maybe having some kind of an antipathy in him. He should leave that aside. He should start small. He should not be confrontationist. It doesn't seem that he's going to be that from the sentiments that he has expressed today. Don't attempt too much, as I said. Start small. Don't be confrontationist. Choose certain domains where you can make a huge difference. Remember, you've got a new bureaucracy that he's going to be working with. And the old bureaucracy of the time of Khoda Sahab has all gone away. Much of it has deliberately been taken away also, so that we have a new beginning. So the NC, the new government will have to come into league with the bureaucracy too. Earlier it was very simple. Every time the government changed, you had the same bureaucracy that you were working with. And see some domains where a positive difference can be made immediately. My strongest recommendation to anyone who takes over Kashmir at the right of the beginning is, your elections are normally October, November, the onset of winter. They make every effort to give the people of Jammu and Kashmir a happy and a good winter. If you give them a good winter, they will always bless you. You will create the positivity for the subsequent year, and you will have a great year ahead, right? So these are some of the points to start with. At the same time, it's not going to be an easy journey for him, not for the government at all. You see, all kinds of obstacles are going to come up, not immediately, but I'm sure as we go along. Governance challenges have already been spoken about by Khoda Sahab just now. The NC is used to having the power in its hands to govern. Now that power is not there. We are looking at a slightly different dispensation. I tend to agree particularly on the aspect of security. Other issues are always debatable, but on the issue of security. Although the National Conference, the government of the National Conference have earlier handled security with a fair amount of competence, but I think this time now, after 5 years coming into a completely new environment, they need to transit into it. So we'll see as and when statehood comes and everything is restored again. Statehood is going to be a stumbling block for some time. I hope that the impatience does not get the better of the government. Because what they must demonstrate is the willingness with what they have at the moment, the willingness to work with it. Automatically, everything positive will come their way. I'm sure the central government has no reasons to prevent things from happening. The government at the center at the moment understands that now a fair and free election has been held. Democratically, the government is going to be in place. In due course, when it is possible and it is correct, they will hand over full power back to the government. 2-3 very important issues will be the issue of Jammu. Now, Jammu has been seething for some time. And there's a question here for me also, which someone has put down, asking me whether Jammu should become a separate state. When on the 5th of August 2019, the government of India announced what was happening with J&K, when Ladakh was taken away as the union territory without an assembly, and J&K were created as one union territory. I tweeted and complimented the government of India. Someone with very deep thought, and I'm sure Mr. Khoda will agree with me, someone with very deep thought had looked at this angle. Otherwise, it was the simplest thing for the government of India at that time to trifurcate. You had 3 natural regions. You had the Great Himalayas, which are separating Ladakh, Zanskar and Great Himalayas separating Ladakh from Jammu, from Kashmir, and you have the Pir Panjal and Kishtwar separating Kashmir from Jammu. Ideal natural regions, natural divisions have 3 states or 3 union territories. Someone with a lot of sense didn't do it. They knew what an interdependence, the amount of interdependence there is between Jammu and Kashmir. Only if you have lived there and you served and you worked there, you realize how the people actually depend on each lots and lots of business activities, particularly the Vyapar Mandals. That is why I always used to recommend, and I would always recommend to Mr. Omar Abdullah, that one of the things that you must work on is the greater integration of Jammu region with Kashmir region. You see, let cities adopt each other. Let Udhampur adopt Baramulla. Let Anantnag adopt Samba. Let the adoption of people takes place. In different domains, let people keep meeting each other from time to time. Instead of sending large tours all over the country, send tours from Jammu to Kashmir and from Kashmir to Jammu. Because people of Jammu and Kashmir are not meeting each other sufficiently. They have to have the right sentiments for meeting. If you live in negative sentiments, you don't progress as a state. And no one will rule. For example, no one in Kashmir will rule something which is being given as a right to the people in Jammu. And similarly, the people of Jammu will not feel that about the people of Kashmir. That is the kind of positive environment which has to be created. Otherwise, I can foresee that there will be sentiments, because Jammu will feel that once again, the government is that of the majority of Kashmir. Now, that feeling must not come, and Mr. Omar Abdullah, I think to his credit, has already made that very clear, that this is not something that's going to happen. This is something in which he's going to work very, very hard to ensure that the people of Kashmir are taken on. Having said that, it's important that for example, I'm very happy to see that we had parties of like the Engineer Rashid's party, we had the Jamatis even as independents, whatever, everyone participated in India's democracy, there's no doubt about it. What very clearly came out is no one is there for radicalization. No one is there for radical ideologies and radical thinking. Although that may exist in pockets here and there, and that itself acts as a danger. But as a system, radicalization does not seem to be a very popular issue in the valley. It's happened in Pakistan also, if you see. Most times you always found that while the Labaik may be able to paralyze Islamabad or Rawalpindi, when it comes to the hustings and comes to the polls, the people don't vote for them. Something very similar has happened in the Kashmir Valley. Distribution of resources between Jammu and Kashmir, this has always been a sticky point in the past as part of governance. This is something on which Mr. Abdullah must also work a fair amount. There will be temptations to raise these kind of issues politically, demands from time to time. I fear that with a very large footprint of the National Conference in the government and a very small footprint of the Congress, there will be a little pressures on the National Conference from time to time to probably raise certain issues, to embarrass the central government and things like that. For example, something like AFSPA, Armed Forces Special Powers Act, and things of that night. Article 370 itself, Mr. Abdullah has said that is not immediately on the table. On the table is statehood. That's the most important thing for them. These are the things to be kept in mind and not to be taken into the sentimental domain. To come to the main subject of mine, that is security. What are the recommendations I make to the security forces and to the government? How do I see security emerging, progressing beyond? I've already sounded out that symbolically an attempt has been made to send home a message with the action which has been done yesterday, today in the Kokarnag area. It should not become bigger than that. The fact that the separatist, terrorist Pakistan could have done something much bigger, it does show that actually their capability to do that does not exist in the Kashmir Valley at the moment. So they will go for small acts. There will be several small acts that they will go for. And that is something we have to be very careful of. The intelligence agencies, the CID of Kashmir, all of them, they are very, very competent and they must get their act together completely. Money circuits. In the run-up to the elections, also money must have come in. But money is one thing which has dried up in the valley as far as the terror financing is concerned to a very great extent. This is something on which emphasis and focus must continue. What the NIA did from 2017 onwards. In the last 5 years, because of central rule, this issue has been very successfully taken to a much further point. Now with politics coming in, grassroots level politics coming in, etc., money can enter by all different directions, from different directions. This is something we have to guard against, and I'm sure the intelligence agencies, the NIA, and the Jammu and Kashmir police will work double time on this particular aspect too. As far as Jammu region is concerned, what is happening in the Jammu region? Mr. Abdullah and his government have worked a lot on security before. He has been heading the Unified Command. Mr. Koda was always a member of that also. So he is no stranger to the aspects of security. But there will be lots of new members who will come into government, lots of new legislators, etc. It will be good if the security side is also taken up as a part of the briefings to the new government, which means to the legislators also. Because otherwise you find all kinds of strange demands coming and people not understanding the compulsions of security, which is, they're very, very peculiar kind of compulsions which take place in Jammu. Particularly the restrictions which you place from time to time. After all, in a slightly abnormal environment, I won't call it a completely abnormal, but slightly abnormal environment sometimes, you do find once in a while controls will come up on the population control measures may be placed, etc., and demands on the political community then start building up on this. This kind of pressure should not build up on issues related to security. Drugs is another domain from where money flows in, so that again must be in the vision of everyone and the focus of everyone. Also, the outreach program, you spoke about youth just now. General Murthy also spoke about, rather, General P.R. Shankar spoke about it. Javed spoke briefly on it. Let me emphasize, in the last 5 years, one of the biggest achievements which has taken place under governor's rule has been the outreach to the youth. Most people would agree with me if I make the statement to say that Jammu and Kashmir has not seen a whole of government approach to the extent that we have seen in the last 5 years. Everyone played his role in governance, etc. But on the security front in particular, everyone has played its role in the last 4-5 years. And when I say security, even the aspect of outreach to the youth actually is a part of our overall security strategy. So there must be no dilution in this. As I've already mentioned, we must have greater integration between the two regions, that is Jammu and the Kashmir part, which is a very, very important aspect. Particularly those communities which could get affected. For example, one can suspect there can be some disaffection among Gujars, there can be some disaffection among Paharis, etc. Not a chance should be given to this to happen. Outreach must take place, which means that now that you have a political community which is there, elected political community, lots and lots of meetings on the ground must be organized. The politicians must go down to the ground, listen to the complaints, listen to the grouses of the people. This is something we have not seen enough of it in Jammu and Kashmir earlier, simply because the security situation never really permitted you to do that. Now that the security situation is far, far better, the police, the CAPFs, even the army should come into this and make sure that they create the right environment for the political community to go down to the people, mingle with the people freely, and that will add to the overall security setup. No efforts to try and dilute the grid. Now, that is one thing we have to be very careful about, because the moment you have elections and the political community gets elected, pressure starts building up on the security community. I remember in the past, the removal of bunkers, etc., that's fine. We had lots of bunkers removed in Srinagar from time to time. Mr. Koda would remember. That's fine. It helps in the overall movement of traffic and things like that. But where there are some critical areas where security setups, nakas of the police, etc., are there and which are mandated to remain there for security, those must not be touched at all with a barge pole, because we cannot afford to lose our control over things, because to regain that control will be very, very difficult. We have worked very hard for the better part of the last 35 years to come to this situation. I think I've already overshot my time. I think I would also recommend to the government to ensure that anti-corruption measures are put into place, because otherwise, after a long time, the moment you have elections, democracy has a way of promoting some aspects of corruption. There will be some unethical, anti-ethical kind of elements here and there, not necessarily the political community itself, but people who will try and take advantage of this. There should be a very strong sense of vigilance against all this. So at the end of it, I think we are looking primarily at the aspect of good governance, a small beginning, taking it beyond, having a good winter, making a good outreach to the youth, a very, very good community outreach to the people at the grassroots level, and backing all this up with a very, very robust security setup. I'll stop here. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, sir. If I could sum up the key issues which you brought out, I think the crux of your talk is small steps, one step at a time, and don't aim for something too big, which is beyond your capability, right? Happy winter, which is a very important part, good governance, and a new type of governance for which this government has to get adjusted to. It's not a state, it's a UT. So it has its own dynamics, right? Then you focused on the security and how to retain control and catch the money trail and focus on the youth. These are the things which you really put out. And another important point which you brought out, and I think which everyone has brought it out in his own way, is that radicalism is no more popular, right? The elections have proven that it's not been popular here. It's not been popular even in Pakistan. In the mainstream Pakistan also, radicalism has not been popular. The same thing you see even in Bangladesh, where people are not for radicalism. I mean, though I'm straying away, I'm just making a point. Just today, Bangladesh has declared 4 days holiday for Durga Puja, and much to against what we think about what was happening in Bangladesh, there's certain things there is sanity in governance in all nations, which is a good thing, right? I'll not go for a second round because otherwise we'll run out of time and we will not be able to take a few questions, at least one question each. But to sum up what all of you have said, the main issues which I'll just talk of, the key things which we look forward when we say new beginning, what is this new beginning going to consist of? First, center-state relations. There are a lot of things, pitfalls in the center-state relations which have not come out. The euphoria of good elections is one part of the story, but once you get down to day-to-day life and governance, the center-state relations and the politics behind that will start coming. And along with the center-state relations also is the divide between Jammu and the Srinagar Valley, which General Hasnain, you have spoken of. And you've been speaking of this quite often. I think these are things which have to be focused on. The second thing is we have not spoken enough of Pakistan today because we all understand what Pakistan can do. And Pakistan will, make it its prime objective hereafter to disrupt, whatever normalcy is there to take it back. It'll do its best to take it back to old days, right? On that is critical for the existence of Pakistan also. As much as it's to disturb J&K, it is critical for their existence and for the survival of the army out there. The Kashmir card cannot run away, so they will continue with it. Right. Then the issue of eventual return to statehood, right? It's okay now that we go with this kind of a union territory kind of an approach for maybe 1 year, 2 years, but at some point of time down the line, statehood has to be taken over, right? And then, of course, the major thing, youth. While we have made a great beginning with the youth, I will say only a beginning for the past 2 years, and a lot of good results have come out, like what Javed has said and what everyone has said. The youth have responded tremendously to this idea of democracy, the idea of going forward with the rest of India, right? And as a state shoulder to shoulder with, or a region shoulder to shoulder with the rest of India, which is great, right? But how do you build on this so that the next generation, the last two generations in Kashmir we have lost, how do you save the next generation from not going back there but looking forward is important? I think where there, what Javed has said is important, have IPL and things like that, which catch the popular imagination in India, should come to Kashmir. And I see no reason why they don't come. And of course, what Mr. Kuldeep Koda said about getting health care and things like that, right? If I can have Apollo, I have a choice of 10 super specialty hospitals in Chennai. In fact, I will say every locality here has a super specialty hospital. Why can't it be there in, in Jammu and Kashmir? And in fact, I will say even take it to Ladakh. So these are the things which are important. And last but not the least, security. Our security grid cannot be devalued, it cannot be diluted, and this security has to, be continued for some time. As from a security perspective, I think we should have no change in the way we do things from what we were doing for the past 1-2 years, and it should be a gradual transition, right, rather than abrupt removal of the security thing. And I think everyone understands this. I think we've had a great session where everyone has given his views out. I will put out a few questions.